It's a bye week for Texas A&M. So how about some college football playoff predictions?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. You are Locked On the Texas A&M Aggies. I am your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas A&M Aggies on SI. Thank you for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm joined by Harrison Reno, as usual, on a Wednesday, and we will be getting into our picks for the week later in the show. But since it's a Texas A&M bye week and the Aggies are off this weekend, we thought we'd get into some SEC championship predictions, some college football playoff predictions, and then talk a little recruiting in the second part of the show. But let's start off with those SEC and college football playoff predictions, Harrison. This was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. You can only pick 2 for the SEC championship. You can only pick 12 for the college football playoff. And the way that things are kind of laid out right now, it's really, really difficult for the college football playoff and for the CFP. And for the SEC championship, because there's, in terms of standings, there's a lot of possibilities that we could go through here. Texas A&M is currently one of 2 undefeated teams in the SEC. They're also the only undefeated team left in the SEC in terms of overall record, I believe. Yes, they are. Alabama is also 5-0 in the conference. Georgia is 4-1. Ole Miss is 4-1. Vanderbilt is 3-1. Texas is 3-1. All of those teams still mathematically have a shot. Tennessee and all these 2-loss teams still, I suppose, mathematically have a shot if some crazy stuff happens. But we're going to stick to the 1-loss teams and above because that seems like the more realistic of the scenarios. Obviously, we're going to start with the SEC championship. I'm going to go with Texas A&M as the number 1 seed because I don't think they're going to lose another game. And they're going to be the number 1 seed in the SEC championship. And something tells me, I can't tell you what it is. I need to look up the tiebreakers probably. That would be a huge help in this discussion. That's some bad pre-production on my part. But something tells me that Alabama is going to lose to Auburn. I don't know why. I can't tell you the X's and O's of why that happens. So I'm going to go Texas A&M versus Ole Miss in the SEC championship game.
Damn. I did not think Ole Miss was going to be the team of choice there.
Well, I went to Ole Miss, so I kind of had to.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
this is an extreme outside shot, by the way. I just want to say that because Georgia or Alabama still has they have LSU, Oklahoma, and Auburn left on their schedule. They'll likely go undefeated. But I just think they're going to lose to Auburn for some reason. And all Georgia has left is Mississippi State, Florida, Texas, and Georgia Tech. So 3 SEC games left for them. I feel like they're going to lose one. I don't know. Maybe. But Ole Miss has the easiest schedule on the way out. I'll put it that way.
It will get interesting if we're talking about Bama, Georgia, and Ole Miss all being 1-loss teams. I don't know who would win out there because obviously Bama has the head-to-head over Georgia and Georgia has the head-to-head over Ole Miss. So does it automatically come down to you looking at Alabama and Ole Miss, or are you looking? I don't know. I don't know what the tiebreaker in that situation.
Here's the tiebreakers. The first one, head-to-head competition among the tied teams. The next thing is record versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams. Then record against the highest, best place common conference opponent in the conference standings, proceeding through the conference standings among tied teams. That sounds really confusing. Cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents among the tied teams, capped relative total scoring margin versus conference opponents among the tied teams, and then F, random draw of the tied teams. So
coin flip.
Yeah. It'll depend on, I guess, we'll get there when we get there. But I think both Georgia and Alabama are going to lose another game.
We'll see. I have Texas A&M being the number 1 seed because I don't see them losing the rest of the year. But I have Alabama meeting them in Atlanta. Alabama's shown the ability to overcome this past weekend a shaky performance. They had a scare this weekend. They beat Missouri. They beat Georgia. They've shown their ability to win these tight games where it felt like last year if they got into a tight game, you should be nervous. You're like, ooh, they might drop one. Them and A&M have looked like the 2 best teams in the SEC so far. Eye test wise, Bama has a really good wins over Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee. I don't think Texas A&M loses the rest of the way. The game in Austin should be interesting, Matt. It would really get interesting if Texas A&M somehow loses that game and you have 1 loss Alabama, 1 loss Texas A&M, 1 loss Georgia, 1 loss Ole Miss. Things just get wild in terms of that scenario. But I don't see that happening. I have Texas A&M going undefeated the rest of the way, playing Alabama in Atlanta for the right for a top 4 seed in the college football playoff. And Matt, I guess I'll go ahead and spoil part of my top 4. I have Texas A&M winning that matchup in Atlanta right now. Not only making it to their first SEC championship in conference or in program history, but winning it. I just think matchup wise, there's a lot of problems that they pose to Alabama. Number 1, the run game. Alabama was susceptible to the ground game versus Georgia, susceptible to it versus Missouri. I like the addition of Marcel Reed in terms of adding to that. And then you got 2 explosive playmakers on the outside of Mario Craver and Kevin Concepcion. I think that is a 30 to 40 point ball game, shootout style in Atlanta. Probably one of the more entertaining games of the season. But I think the Aggies right now should be predicted to win that matchup.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a football game, and I really want to see it. And I do think Texas A&M would win that game right now. Maybe things change over the next couple weeks and we get a different perception of it. But I would also have Texas A&M winning that game. Spoiler alert for my CFP. All right, let's get into the CFP predictions, Harrison. And with us both having Texas A&M winning the SEC, that means that they would be the highest ranked SEC team in the college football playoff. I'm going to give you my top 12 and then my first 4 out for the CFP. I'm going Ohio State with the number 1 seed. They just don't play anybody the rest of the year. They'll play Indiana in the Big Ten Championship, and they'll beat Indiana. I have Texas A&M as my number 2 seed, Indiana as my number 3 seed, Alabama as my number 4, Georgia at number 5, Ole Miss at number 6, Georgia Tech at number 7, Oregon at number 8, Texas Tech winning the Big 12 at number 9, Notre Dame not going to lose another game. They're going to sneak in at number 10, Miami at number 11, and you could flip-flop those. I might actually put Notre Dame number 11 and Miami number 10. And then Memphis is my group of 5 team after their upset of USF this past weekend. My first 4 out are Vanderbilt, who I see going 9-3, BYU, Virginia, and then Texas, who I also see going 9-3 in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's beating Georgia or, I don't know. I think they're going to beat Vanderbilt, and they're going to beat. They have a really good shot to beat Georgia. Anyway, then we get into round 1. I don't expect you to do this, Harrison. I just had this already pre-cooked, so you don't have to give me your prediction all the way through. But I have Georgia beating Memphis in round 1, Oregon beating Texas Tech in round 1, Ole Miss beating Miami in round 1, and then Georgia Tech beating Notre Dame in round 1. I have Alabama beating Georgia in the quarters because they just own Georgia. I have Ohio State beating Oregon in the quarters. I have Ole Miss beating Indiana in the quarters, and I have Texas A&M beating Georgia Tech in the quarters, and then I have Texas A&M beating Ole Miss in the semis, Ohio State beating Alabama in the semis, and then I have Texas A&M taking down Ohio State to win the national championship. Ooh. Yes, you heard it here first. I am predicting Texas A&M to win the national championship.
I didn't draw out the full predictions because, Matt, even though I do have my top 12 predicted, I still don't know who I lean as the championship favorite. I don't know if Ohio State is good enough to be a repeat champion because I don't know anything about them. Outside of the Texas game, there's really been nothing of note about Ohio State for me, like in terms of comparable competition. There's so much unknown about them. Whereas A&M's faced,
it should be noted that Texas had the ball in a one possession game going down the field with 2 minutes in Ohio State territory.
Yeah, it's so hard. I can't even. I don't know. It feels open this year. Of the teams I have in my top 12, I think 7 of them can truly win it all. Which means 4 of them I don't really think are going to go anywhere. Maybe they win a game, but I don't think they actually make it. Anyways, without further ado, my top 12. Top 4 seeds. Ohio State number 1, Texas A&M number 2, Miami number 3. Yes, I have the Hurricanes winning the ACC and getting a top 4 spot. And then I have Indiana at number 4. I think Indiana loses the Big Ten championship. I think their win over Oregon's just enough to give them a top 4 seed. And then here we go. 5 through 12. I have Georgia at number 5. I have Ole Miss at 6, with the both right there. Alabama at number 7. Then Oregon at 8. Georgia Tech at 9. Texas Tech at 10. Notre Dame at 11. And Memphis at 12. Matt, it was tough to find a Big 12 champion. Had to put them in there. There's a scenario where they all beat up on each other and there is no Big 12 champion in here. But I put them in here. I think Texas Tech maybe rebounds. I've been impressed with them. We'll see what their future holds in terms of quarterback going down the road. But the Red Raiders are a team to watch. Other than that, part of me, it's more so I don't believe that BYU is going to close out this year undefeated. I just don't.
They have a real tough schedule left.
I think they're going to drop a game or two, probably 2 games in Texas Tech because I'm going to get in. In terms of my first 4 out, I have it being Tennessee, Texas, Vandy. Yes, Vandy. I know, Matt. Music to your ears. And BYU. I think Tennessee's a 2 loss that gets left out. I don't think Tennessee loses the rest of the way. I think they beat Vandy and basically end both their hopes of going to the playoffs. I have Texas at 3 losses. I think they might pull the upset in Athens. That's going to be a game. Georgia has no pass rush. Texas has no offensive line. It's going to make for a entertaining matchup. That might be a game that somehow gets into the 40s. I think Texas plays spoilers there. And then Vandy, I have Vandy losing to Tennessee, ending their hopes. And then BYU, I think they drop 2 games, maybe 1 in the regular season and then another in the Big 12 championship game.
Well, BYU still has Texas Tech left on the schedule. They still have Cincinnati left on the schedule. Those are 2 really tough games. Cincinnati still has Utah this weekend, and obviously BYU. Arizona's a good team. TCU's a good team. So somebody from the Big 12 has to get in. Texas Tech seems like they have a really good shot to be that team. They have, let me pull up the remaining schedule for them. They have Kansas State, BYU, UCF, West Virginia. So they've got the easiest road to get to the Big 12 championship. And I think they're going to. It is what it is. If you had to pick a national champion right now, Harrison, real quick, just one name, no explanation. Who is it?
I guess I'm going to lean Ohio State right now. Just going to lean in the favorites. I don't want to go all the way. Texas A&M all the way, although the case is strong. Just right now, I don't know enough about the Buckeyes. I really don't. And that's what scares me.
Yeah, nobody does. All right. So Harrison's top 12 is Ohio State, Texas A&M, Miami, Indiana, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oregon, Georgia Tech, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, and Memphis. Mine is Ohio State, Texas A&M, Indiana, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Oregon, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, and Memphis. I have Texas A&M winning the national championship. Harrison is loosely picking Ohio State, but he's kind of unsure because everybody's unsure right now. We're in week 10, I think. So a lot of football left to go. Let's change gears, Harrison. We're going to do a quick segment next about whether Texas A&M can flip a massive, massive prospect from somebody who just fired their coach. So stick with us and we'll be right back. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, so LSU fired Brian Kelly, which means they could have a few guys decommit. They could have a few guys flip. That always happens when you lose your head coach. One of the teams, or one of the players, I should say, that is on that LSU commit list right now is the number one player in America, Lamar Brown, number one defensive lineman. He also plays offensive line. He's an athlete, technically. I think he's going to play defensive line in college, obviously. But you know what? It could go either way. He is ranked on the 24/7 Sports Composite the number one player nationally, the number one defensive lineman, the number one player in Louisiana. There are still some teams that are pushing hard for him, according to reports. Texas A&M, according to, I believe it was Sam Spiegelman of Rivals.com, said that Texas A&M is a dark horse to score the flip. Most people are projecting that he will stick with LSU, but Harrison, you are the recruiting expert on this podcast. Can they do it? Can they pull it off?
I think you should feel pretty good that you're going to have every chance to do so, because I think for a little bit there, it seemed like A&M was the team to beat. LSU had long been the team to beat leading into the summer, and then Texas A&M had him in on the official visit. I remember for a time there, Matt, there was some buzz. The Aggies had made a move, and the Aggies were now trending for him. And then all of a sudden, things shift back. LSU wins out in that recruitment. But as we talked about, I believe we did a show after that commitment and said, hey, obviously this thing's not completely over. Some things can change. Some things can happen. And it certainly does feel like the Aggies will get a chance. I'm curious to see if the Aggies will get a visit. If the Aggies get another visit with him, I think you should feel really good that he is truly in weighing his options. I'm curious if he holds to his commitment before they hire a coach, or if he'd go ahead and decommits and then waits to see what happens with the coaching hire there. But I don't feel like this is out of question. I don't feel like, I don't know. When I hear dark horse, I kind of think it's unexpected in some senses. Like, hey, they might go under the radar. I feel like if we're talking about flipping Lamar Brown, I don't think the Aggies would be a dark horse, or maybe I just don't agree on the term. I think the Aggies would probably be considered a favorite if there was going to be a team that flips them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because it genuinely did seem like they had momentum back in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really down to, I mean, there was technically, I think, 4 teams in the race. LSU, Texas A&M, Texas, and I want to say Miami was in there. But it really felt like an LSU Texas A&M race, and it really felt like it was neck and neck between Texas A&M and LSU. He had great things to say about Texas A&M. He loved his visits, and he's at a position. He plays a position that they are going to need, and that he's likely going to play very, very early. We'll see. I think if LSU makes the wrong hire, whoever that might be, I saw that Ed Orgeron wants to come back and be the head coach at LSU, I think. If Frank Wilson somehow wins out for LSU, do they hire Frank Wilson? Is that enough to keep Lamar Brown? Do they make a big splash hire? Or is Lane Kiffin going to stay at Ole Miss? Because, I mean, Nick Saban came out and said, I think it was yesterday or today, Ole Miss is just as good of a job as LSU in Florida in today's landscape, because Lane Kiffin gets everything he wants and all the resources he needs to do whatever he wants. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that Texas A&M does have a real shot, though. And if anybody can pull this off, given Mike Elko's track record the last 2 years, I think he's definitely one of the few that can. If he does flip, it will, I believe, be the Texas A&M. I don't know that there's another team that has enough rapport with him at the current moment that could do it. But my projection is probably he'll stay at LSU unless they make a bad hire. He may decommit and then, make his decision after they make the next hire. But they should have their, metaphorical pick of the litter for their next head coach. And they're not going to make their decision on the coach based on Lamar Brown, but assuming they hire the right guy, Lamar Brown should be pretty happy. And he's from Baton Rouge, and that's going to play a role as well.
It seems like these guys from Louisiana, time after time, there's that loyalty to staying in state and playing for the flagship program. Not many have come out of Louisiana and gone elsewhere, especially the high-profile ones. So I would definitely lean toward LSU still being the favorite to land him, or keep him, even with the coaching change. And to be quite honest with you, firing Brian Kelly and hiring somebody new may not be the worst thing in the world for Lamar Brown in terms of keeping that recruitment. I never quite understood the appeal of Brian Kelly, especially the fit down there in LSU. So maybe Lane Kiffin is a much more appealing person to play for down in Baton Rouge, much as Matt would hate to see Kiffin trade out the icy, or what's it called? The powder blues for some purple and yellow.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, but it very well could. It very well could.
I think the threat of it happening is now exponentially higher than it was if it was just the Florida job that was open.
Absolutely. And Mike Elko is pretty much the only person who has come out and said good things about Brian Kelly over the past since he's gotten fired, because he used to be the defensive coordinator for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, and Brian Kelly gave him a big shot, so he was very respectful to Brian Kelly in that regard. Everybody else seems to hate his guts. So a coaching change might end up helping them in the Lamar Brown recruitment. We'll see. All right, let's move on to our next segment. When we come back, we are going to make our picks for the weekend. No Texas A&M this week, so we are not picking a Texas A&M game, but we're going to give you some good ones. So stick with us after this break, and we'll be right back. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, time for our picks, Harrison. As we stand right now, last week, we did pretty good. We both had pretty solid weeks. I finished 4-3, or 4-1. Sorry, you finished 3-2. We both picked Ole Miss to beat OU on that spread 5.5, and won that one. You picked Vandy over Mizzou. I picked Mizzou. You won that one. I lost. I picked Houston, and you picked Arizona State. I won that one. You lost that one. I picked Texas over Mississippi State. You picked Mississippi State. Another win for me. Another loss for you. We both picked LSU to lose, or Texas A&M to cover against LSU. We both won that one. As we stand now, that is 25-23 for me on the season through 9 weeks. You are 24-24, back to the 500 mark for Harrison Reno.
Finally.
This week, we're going to pick. What did I have? 5 or 6 games? Let me pull it back up. We're picking 6 games this week. First one up, Vanderbilt at Texas. Texas is favored -2.5. Arch Manning practiced for the Longhorns today. Michael Taff also practiced. Their Jim Thorpe Award semifinal is safety. Whether or not either of them play remains to be seen. We'll see in the injury report on Wednesday night where they're sitting at the moment. But Matthew Caldwell is good enough to beat Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia, I believe, is incredibly overrated in terms of what he is, what he's done against high-level competition. Against ranked opponents, he is completing 57.4% of his passes with 1 touchdown and 2 picks, 106.98 QB rating, averaging 6.1 yards per attempt. Against unranked teams, he is completing 70% of his passes for with 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 173.79 rating. And against FBS opponents, his numbers are a little less because he just lit up the FCS opponent they played this year. So I'm picking Texas to win at home. The first home game in 42 days comes Saturday, and I think that they're going to feel pretty good about being at home, and they're going to win that football game.
Yeah, I like Texas minus 2.5 here. I know, shocker. It's tough. I don't think Matthew Caldwell by any means loses you this game if he does start, but I don't think Texas's supporting cast will help him win this game. And Arch had to do a lot to bring them back into that game in the first place with very, very limited help up front. The offensive line did not get better as the game went on. But considering he practiced, I feel pretty good that Arch will play. And even if he hadn't practiced, I mean, Sarkisian made it seem like even if he didn't practice, he would probably let him start this football game. So I'm taking Texas minus 2.5 here.
Okay. Next one up. We have Miami minus 12.5 at SMU. This is a difficult one because minus 12.5 seems like a lot of points, but Miami also seems like they're one of the best football teams in the country, despite that bad loss to, not really a bad loss to Louisville. Louisville's a good team. They just looked really bad in that game. Carson Beck, especially. I like Miami minus 12.5 in this one. I don't think SMU is as good as everybody thinks they are.
I don't think SMU has a pulse in this game. Miami minus 12.5. I hate the spread, but I'm going to take it because I don't want to bet on, I don't want to pick SMU to cover 12.5.
Okay. So Harrison has Miami. I have Miami. Next, we move on to Georgia minus 7.5 versus Florida in Jacksonville. Give me the dogs.
You gonna do it?
I just no. Florida's just they're so Jekyll and Hyde. I just can't trust them in this game.
I thought he was gonna do it. I'm taking Georgia minus 7.5 here. I don't know how we get to 7.5 in terms of how Georgia covers this by a touchdown. Maybe they pull away in the fourth. Maybe they don't get a stop until the fourth quarter again. Who knows? The interim coach makes this interesting in terms of Florida's offense could have a little, some new wrinkles, which could give Georgia's atrocious first half defense trouble. But I think Georgia pulls away in the end. I'm going to venture to say Georgia wins this game by 10, and you win this game by 2 scores. You pull away a little bit late in the fourth quarter, but I think it's an entertaining, competitive ball game.
All right, so Harrison has Georgia as well. Now we move on to Oklahoma and Tennessee. Oklahoma at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by minus 3.5. I think John Mateer is dog water. I think Tennessee is really good, and I'm picking the Vols.
Yeah, I hate how this is going because we're picking the same teams, but it's not because I'm trailing you. Although you do have the winning record, so maybe it is good to trail you. But I just this isn't a question for me. I think Tennessee is a good team this year. I have them as my first 4 out as 2 losses, which says I don't think they lose again. I think they take care of OU in a hostile Neyland Stadium. Give me Tennessee to cover the 3.5. I think this is like a 2-score ball game. Again, I think this is probably a 10 to 14 point game.
All right, so we are matched up on 4 of our games so far.
This is not good.
This is probably not a good sign. Next up, we have a Big 12 matchup.
Oh, boy.
Cincinnati at Utah. The Utes are favored minus 8.5 in this game. That seems like a lot. Cincinnati's been playing really well. Brendan Sorsby's been really good. Unless there's some injury that I'm unaware of because I don't cover the Cincinnati Bearcats. I'm picking Cincy to cover this 8.5. That just seems like too big of a line.
I really want to take the Cincy cover because I thought maybe you'd take Utah. All right. Well, since you took Cincy And I halfway believe in Kyle Winningham. I will take Utah to cover the 8.5. I just don't know if Cincy's legit. If Cincy's legit, this is by far the worst pick of the week for me. But until I see it, I'm going to take Whittingham, the Fighting Whittinghams, to win this game in Utah.
All right. Now we're down to our last pick. I took Cincinnati. Harrison took Utah.
We might split this.
Let's break this Big Ten one down. USC minus 6.5 at Nebraska. I just don't think Nebraska's very good. I just don't think Nebraska's very good. I think USC wins by a touchdown.
I think USC is pretty good this year. Better than they were last year. Nebraska's tough because I don't think Nebraska has anything around Dylan Raiola that makes you think they should win this game. But it's at home. 100-plus-year-old stadium. Saw a video this week of what the concourses look like there. You're like walking up these like old school ramps to even get into your seats. You know, they have a Patrick Mahomes wannabe. Maybe that just like puts a little bit of fear into USC and Lincoln Riley. Maybe Lincoln Riley sees, you know, the Walmart brand Patrick Mahomes and sees all the stuff that Dylan Raiola does, and it scares him a little bit, Matt. Give me the Cornhuskers. Never thought I'd say this on a show. Give me the Cornhuskers to cover the spread.
All right. So we had two splits at the end, so I feel a little bit better about that. So I have Texas minus 2.5 over Vanderbilt. Harrison also has Texas. We both have Miami over SMU minus 12.5. We both have Georgia over Florida minus 7.5. We both have Tennessee over Oklahoma minus 3.5. I have Cincinnati covering the 8.5 points against Utah. Harrison has Utah, and I have USC covering against Nebraska at minus 6.5. Harrison is taking Nebraska. All right, so we'll see. This is not exactly going to be the matchup. I think that is going. Well, we're separated by 2 games, so we could theoretically be tied at the end of this thing. We could also theoretically be below 500, both of us, because we picked so many of the same games. We'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for making Locked On Aggies your first listen today. For your second listen, please check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to follow me on X at Matt Galatzan. Follow Harrison on X at Harrison Reno. Don't forget to like our podcast, subscribe to our podcast, download our podcast. We're on every major platform, YouTube, and all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. At least you finally picked Vandy not to do something good. That makes me happy.